with enrollment for the class. So, all right, I'm going to shut up and hand it over to you because I think it's that time. What do you think?
I think it's great. John's going to be running the chat. John, if you'll mute yourself out.
Okay.
And today is going to be a tag team. We're very excited. I'm Allyson Lewis. I'm the founder of the 7-Minute Life. Many of you know that I have attention deficit disorder, as in I'm formally diagnosed and medicated, which helps a lot. I know I'm not alone. There are a lot of things that we're going to be talking about today. They're going to have really just a little bit to do about time management. But today we're going to be talking about life goals, how to set them, and why they bring us happiness and can help us leave a legacy. Second thing I'm going to go ahead and share, which we're getting a lot of response from, is part of why we're focusing on happiness is that I struggle with depression. I'm just going to put it right out there. It's been a battle I've faced probably all my life, but it became really extreme about 4 years ago. And I'm not just talking about being blue. I am talking where it's just so overwhelming. So I'm a very big advocate for mental health awareness, and we're getting lots of comments. So today, setting life goals is important to me. Every time I get to share my purpose, which is what this is, it changes my life. So I'm really glad people are coming back over and over again. John Arnold is our Chief Inspiration Officer. He is the lifeblood of what you read. He is the person that does most of the copywriting and most of the planning about what we feel like people need. So John, I want to thank you for that. And we're going to go ahead and move right into our program today. John and I are going to be doing this together. So be prepared for John's insight. And we have a huge crowd today. So I am really, really excited about that. Today, we're going to be talking about setting life goals. This is very different than setting personal goals, short-term goals, 90-day goals. This is all about re-looking at who you are, what you want out of life, where you want to go. At the age of 85, we have a purpose sheet, and one of the questions on it is, at the age of 85, I will know I have fulfilled my purpose if. And the other thing is, I think we all have bucket list goals, and I'm going to share just a few. So you're going to need to fasten your seatbelt because I've been on several adventures that I'm excited about. But I think what people really want is they want their life to matter, so that they can find more than just happiness, but really so they can, find that place where their heart, body, mind, and soul connects with who they are, and therefore does bring happiness, but I think it drives that deep, burning passion that we all want. And when we find that, we can leave a legacy to people that changes lives. I want to share what we're not going to cover today. These are really important things, this wheel of life where you talk about your friends and family, the things that you want to do in your career and your home environment with your health. That's a whole nother topic, a different topic. That is not what we're going to be talking about. Today, we're going to be talking about other things, and I'm going to go ahead and switch to, I'm going to stop sharing this, John, and if you will, John, break in and let me know if this does not work. I'm switching to sharing content. Oh, that's not going to work. Not going to work, John. I didn't download the slides. Okay, I'm going to go back to this. It's okay. Okay, I hope you can see my slides on that, correct? All right, so what we are going to be talking about, though, are just some things that I believe are going to be life-changing. We are going to be talking about life goals. We're going to talk about the timeline of your life, and we're going to be talking about how you can bring that down until today. If you've been following the 7-Minute Life for a long time, you know we believe everything starts with knowing who you are, what you believe, and what's most important. After you know those things, we believe it's critically important to know your purpose in life. Why have I been placed here? What's the point? How can I make a difference in the world? And we believe that love is the foundation of purpose, really important. But today, we're going to be talking about life goals. Now, if you're taking notes, the life goals we're going to be talking about today are not all that sentimental. They're really bucket list goals, things that you want to do in your lifetime. Like, I want to read 1,000 books in my lifetime. I wanted to go skydiving. Well, I've marked that off my list. I've been 4 times. What are those things that you've just dreamed about doing, but you've been too busy to do? We want to help you create a timeline of when you can do those things. We're going to actually skip the 90 days. And John, who is a genius, and we talk a lot about things that we can make happen. We're going to be talking about how you can make these life goals happen day after day after day. And I think that is a critical thing. Now, for those of you that have been watching these videos that we've put out in the last few weeks, I guess, you've seen what we call the choke point. And so I want to share that with you about what the choke point is. And I'm doing this with my mouse, so forgive me. The choke point looks like this. If this is a new concept to you, I think it'll make a lot of sense. This looks like an hourglass. And we have things that come into our life that may or may not be important, but they come into our life and we get to a point where we want that output. We want to be able to have our bucket list. And John, I know you're looking at this thinking, okay, she's the best artist in the whole world. So John will be redoing this. But when you look at this, let's see if I can do this a little better. When you look at this, what happens in this choke point is that as things come in, you get to this point right here where you become trapped. There is nothing else that can come through because you've got so many things in your life. And one of the things that people say to us over and over again is, yes, I have far too much in my life. I want to be a lot. I want to do everything. I want to volunteer. I want to be active in my church. I want to grow my faith. I want to be with my kids. I want to do my job well, all of those things. And they come into our life. We have trouble prioritizing them. And what happens is we hit this choke point in the hourglass. And what does not come out is anything that we believe. There's no way. We become trapped and stuck. And I'm not sure who said this, but one man said, look at your friends and you will see your future. If you're taking notes, let me say that again, because we're going to be talking about this in a bit. I'm not sure who said this, but one of my friends told me, look at your friends and you'll see your future. And what we're going to be doing today as we turn this over to John is we're going to help you, or scarily, I guess, show you how you can predict your future. And I do want you to write this down if you're taking notes. How you can predict your future by what we're going to show you today. This is one of the most powerful classes you will ever participate in the 7-Minute Life. Because if you want to know at the age of 85 how your life is going to have turned out, today you're going to see tools that are going to predict where you're going to be. It's exciting and a little frightening because I think we're so busy we can't look at our life goals. We don't know who or what we want to be. Now, John, before I turn it over to you, we have a very large crowd. I want to tell them that if they stay to the end, this is a 1-hour class, we are going to be drawing for a January 5th registration to our master class, Improve Your Life, Living with Freedom, Passion, and Purpose. So you do have to stay. You do have to be present to win. So you're going to want to stay until 12 o'clock. So, John, I am going to now turn it over to you to talk about bucket list goals that you have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And, John, you're live if you'll turn on your mic.
There we go. Can everybody hear me? And Allyson, I'm showing you in the middle of the screen. I may be a little window for folks. Do we need to swap this way? Can you do that?
You're great.
What's up?
As soon as you start talking, you're fully there.
All right. Well, let me start with, I'm going to share a few of my life goals, and I don't have all my life goals drafted out. I have done some work on this, but I need to do more work. So that's one thing I like about these webinars. They push me to do my own homework, you know? So I got to get my assignment done so I can teach you about yours. But I have several that are in place, and I'll start with sharing those, and then I'm going to kind of backtrack. One of the things that, before I do that, one of the things that Allyson shared, and one of the things that I sent in the reminder this morning is that there's a way for you to predict what your life is going to look and feel like in your final years. You have a lens to know what that's going to look like right now. You can predict where you're going to be. And she's actually already shown you that. And I'll make the connection here in a little bit. But knowing this is going to help you be able to change what that picture looks like. So Allyson mentioned bucket list goals. I'm going to start and I'm going to kind of backtrack. Let's start at the end and work my way back, because that's what you have to do when setting life goals. You have to create a picture of where you want to be, what you like to achieve, the big, broad brushstrokes of your life. And for me, a few of my life goals, we'll stick them over here, that I have. One that is way at the top of my list is I want to travel internationally with my family. And that's really high on my list. We've had some trips where, like, I've gone to Mexico with my son, my wife's gone to England with my son, with my daughter, but I would love for the four of us to have the freedom of lifestyle and finances to be able to travel internationally and make multiple trips. Another thing that I want is that I want a business of my own that generates income, sufficient income for me to be able to do that and enjoy a level of lifestyle I want. And I want that business to help people live epically. There's a lot of different ways that could be pulled off. But in the bottom line is, I want to shift to where within the next 5 to 10 years, I'm not trading hours for dollars, where I work a certain number of hours and I make a certain number of dollars, but I actually have a business and products that generate income for me, and that my lifestyle shifts where I have a minimum amount of time that I need to put in that activity, and I'm not bound locationally, but I can be anywhere to maintain that business. So I have freedom of travel. And then I'm going to put one more up here. Well, I have multiple other ones. I want to have a strong and active presence in the lives of my kids, and I'm going to assume some grandkids, hopefully. Kids and grandchildren, okay? So I want to have a strong and active presence in the lives of my children and grandchildren. And again, these kind of support one another. The business goals I have in mind, the financial goals I have in mind, will create hopefully a lifestyle that allows me the freedom to enjoy these other life goals. Now, when we plan, I'm going to back up here a little bit. This process of planning life goals is just a macrocosm. It's a big picture of what we do when we plan a day. We teach you when we plan a day to know your purpose, to know your priorities, to figure out the big things that you want in the day. And let's pretend that, you know, our day is over here and we have so many hours that we can work during the day. And some of you have seen us use like a 15-minute time increment sheet where we figure out what are my 5 high-value tasks that I want, my 5 before 11s. And we make space for those in our day. And then other things get planned in around that. Hopefully they're given priority and other things are planned around that. Ideally, we go into day with that written action plan We break it down into micro actions that we can execute and that we can get done. And we make those a priority and try to achieve them before other things can come in and crowd out. If we don't do that, then what happens is what Allyson was describing of we hit a choke point. And I'm going to re-illustrate that because even though, Allyson, you're the best artist in the world, that may have been hard for people to follow. But we have this hourglass of a day is what I'm going to put it as. And we have things that we would like to achieve. We have priorities for us that we have in mind at the beginning of the day. If we don't have tools for making them the highest priority and protecting them, what happens is all kinds of little things that we didn't anticipate or plan for or other people's expectations start rapidly filling our day. And there comes a point where all that stuff bottlenecks and there is too much to get done with the time that we have. And unfortunately, what happens is a lot of times our priorities get stuck up here and never make it to the bottom, if you will. And what happens is we end up frittering our time away on low value tasks and get just maybe one or two things that were really important to us done or not at all. Well, this process and this experience it's critical to understand that, because here's the deal. And this is the big reveal here. And it's really critical you understand this. That choke point concept is not just limited to a day. That choke point concept actually will define how you live out your life as well. I'm going to slow this down a little bit. Okay, I think you all can see these. You all know what they are. 3 biggies: business, travel, family. Let's leave it at that. Okay. Let's say, for example, well, here, let's make these 10-year increments. This is when you're 10 years old, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Maybe some of us make it out there to 100, okay? When we are in this 10 to 20 range, 10 to 30 range, 25, somewhere in there, I'd say up to about 35, we have a lot of dreams and we have a lot of hopes that we want to see happen, right? We're very idealistically, and the things that we're passionate about, that we haven't had the realities of real life, if you will, kind of push down in on that. And we go away to school or go into a profession like, oh, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do with my life. And other things start crowding in. And here's what happens. This choke point concept of a day, all right, it happens over our lifespan as well. So you can take that thing and you can do this with that choke point, all right, to where early in our life we have these dreams and these aspirations, these things we would love to see happen. And we run off to school, and school doesn't go the way that we thought because it's harder than we thought, or we have a crises that causes us to have trouble in school, or we can fill in the blanks with all sorts of things. The expense of it is more than we anticipated. But things happen in our lives that demand our time and attention that we never expected, just like they happen in a day. And what happens is those things start coming in and crowding and crowding and crowding until instead of us coming to life with all of these expectations that we had, these blue arrows making it down to the end, right? And making it over here. Instead, what happens is somewhere for many folks, it's around, let's see, 10, 20, 30, 40, 40, 50-ish, somewhere in there. people start hitting a midlife crisis because they realize that somewhere back here they started hitting a choke point, and what they wanted to experience, what they wanted to have, has not happened. Or maybe on the surface it's happened. They've gotten their degree, they've gotten their job, but they're still not very satisfied with life because there are some deep yearnings and dreams that never got met because they got crowded out, they got choked, and we started giving up on them, thinking we don't have enough time, or we don't have enough money, or we don't have enough whatever. You can fill in the blank because all these other things demanded stuff from us. Is this making sense so far? I'm just going to pause there. Okay, people are starting to see this. Yeah, exactly. V-ship. Aha, epiphany, choke point for life. Yes. Okay, good. People are getting this. So we need in place to do this. We can take all the principles we have for a day. We need to apply them to our life cycle. We need to get very clear on our highest priorities and very clear on our purpose and what they would look like if we live them out, if we extrapolate them out to the end of our life. What would they look like? And then we have to do sort of the same thing we do with a day. Instead of a 15-minute increment sheet, we have a worksheet where we map out year by year the first 5 years. It's like a little block that says 1 year, this will happen, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And then we have 5-year blocks where you can put in the broad brush strokes of where you want to be. So let me show you what this may look like for some of the goals I had. Like I have international travel as a goal. Well, that's something that I want to experience over, let's see, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I'm 50 right now, and I want to enjoy that while I physically still can. And so let's go. I got to put a benchmark here so I stop losing that. So the time for me to live that, the time for me to really enjoy that is probably between right now and when I'm going to say 70 or 75, okay? I might be blessed to be able to enjoy it longer than that, but I have traveled with aging parents. I've done international travel, and I know when you start getting close to 80, that becomes difficult. So this is kind of the season. That's kind of the area in my life where that's going to have to happen. Now, just like a day where we can't just have some vague concept of going into the day, well, I want to spend more time with family, right? We break that down into micro actions, and we sort of have to do the same thing here. A goal of I want to travel with family internationally is very, very vague. So what I have done is several months ago, I talked with my family, and I have a goal of what the first trip is going to look like. It's almost like the first micro action, though it's really a big project. And I want to take my family within the next couple of years. I want us to go to Venice as a family, the 4 of us. And I know that that's going to probably cost about $10,000. Might be able to do it cheaper than that. But if I want to see and do all the things I'd love for us to see and do, we're probably looking at about $10,000. And I've begun to make plans for a product and a release of that product that will generate that $10,000 to do that. And to have fun with it, I like to treat this stuff like a game. To have fun with that, I've labeled this, I've called it the Italian job. so the Arnold family Italian job. And we're starting to paint a picture of what that first piece will look like. If I just live with a general intention of, I want to travel internationally with my family someday, odds are it will never happen. It will get choked out by other things here. If I get very specific in my plans and I start taking micro action steps toward it right now in smaller goals, then I will be able to successfully navigate that goal through this choke point and protect it from other things choking it out. Is that making sense to people? Let me pause here a little bit and let me get this. Okay, good. It looks like people are really getting it. Yeah, Nancy, I think it's going to be fun. She said, sounds fun. Martina's saying, I wish I had known this years earlier. Well, me too, Martina. But you know what? We only get what we get, and apply it now, and there's no telling what can happen. Yeah, I'm also approaching retirement, so you know, these things are becoming more and more pressing. I'm giving people just a moment. Yeah, people are getting this. So here's the deal, okay? If this is a macrocosm, if you will, of this right here, that the same planning process that we do to make it through the day has to be the same planning process that we do here. Here's the thing you need to understand. I said that I can predict what your life is going to be like on this end, and that there's a tool for me to tell what that is right now. And that tool is this right here. What you're doing daily and how you're ending your day, how you're ending your day now foreshadows what this end of life experience is going to be like for you. Because if you're ending your day right now stressful, stressed, if you are ending your day right now overwhelmed, if you are ending your day right now weary and not looking forward to the next day, maybe even dreading, okay, then when we get here, what we're going to be is in a place where we are stressed. We are not just overwhelmed, but we're probably basically immobile because we don't have the same life energy and resources available here that we do back here in life. We can't fight the day and get through the things that we could fight and get through. We just flat out physically don't have the mental and physical capability as we age to pull off the same pace that we pull off right now. And I find, and not to be just completely dismal here, but I've been in ministry for almost 25 years, and I've worked with people through this life cycle stuff a lot. The people who have not truly lived, when they're going through this 50 to 60 range, they can start to get bitter and resentful or sad or depressed. And beyond that, they can get to a place, if they're hitting up into their 80s or their 90s, and they've never really accomplished this, you're actually frightened about life ending. There's a Native American proverb that says, when death comes, I hope it finds me alive. That's what we're talking about here. That's literally this life critical. When death comes, I hope it finds me alive. It's only going to find us alive if we know how to manage this right now, the day in, day out, so that instead of being stressed, instead of being overwhelmed, instead of being weary, we are energized. We have hope. We are looking forward. And we feel satisfied and accomplished. If you can manage your days now so that these are the outcomes at the end of the day, I can all but guarantee you, when you get down here to the end of life and you're in those final years, you're still going to have these same things. Because here's the problem. Most people are living in a choke point as a lifestyle. Choke points are going to happen. Choke points are a given in life. We're going to have times where things push in on us and they're overwhelming, but it should not be a lifestyle. And the problem has become in our culture that this is a lifestyle for people. And if this is a lifestyle, it's not a happy ending for how we enjoy our lives near the end of our years. So it's really important we understand this. I don't know how to drive it home enough, and I hope this is making complete sense to people. Yeah, and it is not easy to do. Let me run back and look at the chat, and I'll see, Allison, maybe if you want to chime in and see what kind of questions we have. Keith Profsky. I don't know if people are following the chat. Keith said, I like the Italian job. Sounds like an offer your family can't refuse. What a great sense of humor. Okay, Iris said, I've always had trouble seeing things long range. Would love to conquer that. Your trip example is something I would have trouble with. Yeah, and I think, and most of us do, Iris, and the key is that we have to take this broad concept of I'd like travel internationally or I'd like a business, and we have to break it down into something very tangible in first action kind of steps. And it is the same with planning our day. We have to break it down into those micro action levels. And it takes practice, and you may want to start with something that's a 6-month goal. Set something out that's 5-6 months from now. What would be something that would be a really meaningful change for you, a tremendous shift for you, and say, okay, if that's where I want to be in 6 months, kind of back up and say, is that realistic? What would it take? And what's a first step or two? So let me see what else is going on here, chat. And I'll pause and let you talk for a moment, Allison, while I do that.
I tell you, John, one of the things I want to share with everyone is the choke point is a description of how I've lived. And John and I were talking last night, and one of the things I think is so important in the 7-minute life is we spend about an hour and a half just thinking and talking and stepping outside of that choke point. And John, I think that what happens is that when we step outside the choke point, this entire concept of the predicting what your life is going to end out is based on what's happening day to day right now. I love the quote, and I'm not sure who said it, that you can see your future by the friends you have today. The friends you have today are going to predict who you're going to be, and we believe that this daily progress report, taking things and looking at them every day, what you do today, who you are today, who you surround yourself with today, what you read, what you think about, those things today are going to absolutely predict who you're going to be in the future. And the reason is that when we're in ruts and when we're trapped and when we're stuck, we're going to stay with the familiar. Our default is going to be to live in the choke point. Somehow we're motivated to do it. We feel like we're martyrs, or that we can do all things and be all things for all people. And so what we've done for 56 years in my case, it's more comfortable to do for the following 56 years. And what I'll say today is the reason we are spending hours and hours of thinking about what's real in people's lives is we want to offer ideas, concepts, and solutions and say, I don't have to live that way.
Right.
I don't want to live in the choke point. And I think the question becomes, how do we do that? So, John, do you have any comments before I end? And I do want to tell people after 20 minutes, we are going to be taking questions and answers. I think that we've stepped out of the choke point for today. And so people that are signing up for these classes for that hour, you are committing to say, I don't want to be the same. I want to be different tomorrow than I am today. And I'm going to commit to that 1 hour from 11 to 12 every Tuesday. And you're going to make a choice, because we get to make a choice of staying where we are, or choosing to become aware of the problems. And John, sitting last night and listening to all this was life-changing for me. It's a concept that did not exist until today. And I think what you've hit on is a concept that we can get, that if our life is too busy today and we can't get done our to-do list, which is something that is important but not life-changing, if we can't get a to-do list done, there is no way we will be able to live into a life with happiness, with a legacy, with faith, with purpose, with priorities, with taking care of our families, living with our children, doing things that matter. And if we can't do a to-do list, how in the world will we accomplish our dreams?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So how do we, I'm going to jump back. I was monitoring chat and listening to you, and that doesn't work well. But what I heard you saying at the beginning of that is a little bit about how do we do that? I mean, how do we make these life how do we make sure these life things happen? And it does happen in the day-to-day. And I'm going to recap a little bit because some people may have come in here late, but I'll recap the process a little bit. And for those of you who want to walk away with kind of a, okay, I want to work on life goals now. I want to get through this checkpoint. What do I do next? First off, you do need to identify what those life goals are for you. And I would just literally brainstorm a bucket list and let your mind go wild. Put out there whatever you want on that bucket list. You don't necessarily have to do all of them, commit to all of them, but you want to brainstorm and get that out there, which is, I should have said this even before doing that. You do need to set aside a block of time to do that. Allyson was talking about, we take time to think about these things. You know, one of the foundational pieces that we explain to people is you need to take 7 minutes at the beginning of your day and 7 minutes at the end of your day to plan and create that written daily action plan. I annually take at least a full day and set it aside to plan my year out, which is kind of a, you know, microcosm of this. But you're going to have to take some time and set it aside just for the purpose of getting clarity. And at first you just want to brainstorm, and then you've got to clarify. You got to refine that down and make some choices. Okay. And these are the big pictures. That's like me deciding those 3 or 4 that I listed. That will get you there. That will get you those pieces. At that point, this is where we have a worksheet that's really handy. We have a life timeline worksheet, which is what I mentioned. Did you have a slide for that by chance, Allyson, or could you maybe pull it up from our tools page?
I do, and I'll be going.
Okay.
Do you want me to share it now? I'd rather see you talk, and then I'll share it.
Yeah, then we can look at it. But on that sheet, what you need to start to do is to identify, I call them seasons when I do this. You need to identify the season for those goals. In other words, for me, the season for this is from now until about the time I am 75. Retirement, for me, I want to be early. I want to be moving into a retirement mode by 60 at the latest if possible. So retirement for me is going to start here, and this is what that's going to begin to look like. So you need to start looking at not only the deadlines for when you want to accomplish those goals. I guess what I'm talking about is mapping the time. And the analogy, the parallel would be like we have a 15-minute time increment sheet for mapping out the day. We have a sheet where you map out the next 5 years, and then you put 5-year blocks after that. You'll see that in just a minute. But you begin to map out the time. What's really important on mapping out time, I learned this through my annual goals, is that there are several pieces you need in place when you're mapping. And they are the obvious one, I'll call it a deadline. of when you want that life goal accomplished. When do you hope to have that done by? But you also need to state a starting time, a starting point. A lot of people procrastinate purely because they never choose when they're going to begin. Let me repeat that. A lot of procrastination happens purely because we don't consciously choose when we want to begin. Actually set a start date for when you're going to begin to work toward that goal. And then you need to know what are the benchmark accomplishments along the way. You know, for me to do the Italian job, I have identified the business that I want. I've identified the product. Now I have to start identifying the elements for releasing that and doing that. And each one of those has benchmarks for it. And I'll need to set a timeline around that. And then always know what your next step is. What is your next step? And do you have that scheduled? If not, at least know what that next step is. Most people only have a deadline for when it needs to get done. But you really need all of these four at any given time around a goal, whether it's a life goal, whether it's a work goal, it's a personal goal, it's a goal for next week. We need to know the deadline. We need to know when we're going to start, what are the benchmark accomplishments along the way, and what needs to happen next. Otherwise, we stagnate, and that will happen with life goals. And somebody raised the illustration. It's a classic, great old illustration of time management, of having a jar and you have to put in the big rocks first before you can then, if you try, if I gave you a table with a bunch of big rocks and some sand and some pebbles and that kind of thing, if you start with the small stuff, it gets impossible to cram the big rocks in. If you put the big rocks in first, it's amazing how much more you can put in around it. So these are your big rocks, you know, and you gotta choose those first. So that's the simple, basic map of how you get there. Identify your goals, brainstorm, identify your goals, seek to bring them down to a clarifying level, and then begin to map out the time. And then it becomes a matter of doing the work, making the action steps, learning what you need to learn, putting in place the habits that you need to have. Does that make sense as a process? It's really, again, it's the same process we use for a day. The other thing I'm going to add in there, and we don't talk about this enough, celebrate. Celebrate the accomplishments along the way, because it will energize you to keep moving forward. So I don't want to get more detailed than that.
Okay, John, can you see my screen?
I can. Can you talk to them? You want to talk to them about that sheet, or you want me to talk to them?
No, I'd like to share this with
Yeah, because I think you can annotate. And I'm going to clean a little of this space.
you. Okay. I think what John has talked about today is what we need to do. One of the things that we try is not why you need to do it or what you need to do it. We believe we're different because we can help people know how to do it. So we'll be sending you a template. John, we're beginning to get some questions. We'll be sending you this timeline or template for life. And how it works is that this is a year one, so you get to do that. This is 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years, and 5 years. And this goes through 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then this begins to take 15 or 5-year increments. So this is 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and so forth. I think the first step of getting out of the choke point, and I don't think it takes very long, even this hour that we've set, and I saw Ann say that she's going to be taking off work. What if we took a day to take this timeline for life, to step out of the choke point, because the choke point's not going to go away, and just think, what are those bucket list goals? You know, John said something that really touched me. He said, we get to manage our day. You know, this is a global, who do you want to be? This is a global thing. When was the last time that you said globally, who am I today? Who do I want to be at the age of 85? What's standing in my way of having that accomplished? And how can I work through those obstacles? We don't want to just tell you what to do. We want to give you tools for how to do that. And at some point, we'll probably do an entire webinar on this. But I think the outcome, and John, I wrote this down, and this is what I want out of life, that we want to have these goals, not only life goals, but daily goals, so that we can feel energized, so we can have hope, so we can look forward and feel not only, I think, that we've accomplished something, but we've accomplished something for someone else. And I believe that why we're doing this is that the people on this call, and it is shocking how many, in fact, we've gone up in a number of people. A lot of people come to these webinars and then drop off. We've actually gone up in the numbers that have been here. And the reason is that people feel pain, they're afraid, and they're trapped by that choke point. And we do not want to be there. Now, I'm going to transition because I do believe, and we talked about the fact that we're going to be giving away a free registration to this class, John. We've got about 10 minutes left or 6 minutes left in this class, and then we're going to open it up to questions. So in about 6 minutes, we're going to be giving away a random attendant, someone that's attended a $997 version of this class. But if you're just coming into this webinar and know nothing about it, these webinars are starting points. We're going to be teaching a 7-week master class that's going to start right after the first of the year. Because people live all over the world, we're going to create it and offer it at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time and 7 p.m. Central Time. And we're going to ask things like, how happy are you with your life? Are you sacrificing sleep? Are you sacrificing time with your family? Is your house overflowing with disorganization and clutter? Do you find that there's not enough time to get everything done? And are you consistently putting off your hopes and dreams? This class today is a precursor. We said you can predict your future even at the age of 85 by looking at how you're living today. We don't want to just tell you what the problems are and that you do feel overwhelmed. We want to take you through the choke point and begin to tell you how you can stop being stuck. That question scares me. I'm 56 years old. Am I going to stay the same, or am I going to choose to work through that stuck? And it does not happen over time. Coming from stuck does not happen by just watching webinars. These webinars are changing lives, but I can tell you that I feel pain, and I know everyone on this class, you're coming to these classes, whether it's something about a big topic like we're talking about today, of looking at when you die, or if it's something small and important like taking that 7 minutes to decide what you're going to do today. But this pain of what we're talking about the choke point, I believe why you're coming to these classes is not just to learn about how to plan your day. I believe the life outcome is to find freedom, passion, and purpose. And back to John's point, we have to learn how to find freedom, passion, and purpose today. And I believe that what you've watched today is going to begin to bring, my heart's beating. This is what we want to do, is I want you to leave today with the freedom to dream of who you can be, with the passion to be able to work at it, that deep burning passion. When was the last time we felt like that? And to understand that the outcome of all this is not just about us, but the outcome is to rediscover our purpose so that we can change other people's lives. And what's holding us back is I think we live in fear. And again, if you watch these videos that we've done, I don't believe that the opposite of fear is courage. I believe that the opposite of fear is freedom. Freedom from being all the time overwhelmed with the choke point. Freedom to step outside the noise and find alternative pathways to re-engage with life. And when I look at this image, which is becoming more and more important, I think that we have the opportunity, even starting today, to choose our life by going, this way rather than just simply going that way. We're standing at a line in the sand. And if you're watching these webinars and you've been here, I want to go this way. I want to follow through to freedom. I want life to matter. I want to be able to look forward and predict what life is going to be like rather than choose to live in that rut, to choose to continue to just do the same thing over and over again. I want to find alternative pathways, and I want to do it together. When you run in a race, you run significantly faster when you're surrounded by people running in the same race. We believe that same thing is true. I want to run in this race of how to get out of the choke point, how to come up with freedom and purpose by running together. The class that we're going to be teaching, the learning objectives, do include time management skills. We're going to be talking about the fundamentals of a happier life. How do you do that? Reversing the pain of being too busy, turning procrastination into action. We're going to be talking about resilience. Life is hard, but how do you dismantle those obstacles and barriers? And we're going to talk about digging out of disorganization and clutter. We're going to be giving away a free class. Not one single person has dropped off this call. The reason is that we want that. The 7 weeks of training is going to start Thursday the 5th. We're going to have a morning class and an evening class. Each class is going to be 90 minutes long. It's going to be recorded. You're going to have lifetime access. And this is brand new. We have never done this before. But if we run the race together, John is going to be holding an open discussion where you can see us, we can see you. It's going to be Mondays at 1 o'clock, and we're going to run it together. We all have questions. We all want to do this. I'm so excited about learning from you. You're going to get workbooks, all the slides, all the tools. We've created new personal assessments, new journals, and you're going to get the planner and the difference. You can see what these classes look like. This is just a small example, but you will literally be able to see us and we can see you. And I look at this person that's pole vaulting and I look at her coach and I realize she did not just come once a week to talk to other people about it. She literally had somebody day after day after day teaching her not the what, but the how to do it. So we're going to be offering 2 learning tracks. With the first one, it's $997. I'm trying to do this with my mouse. It's $997, and you get the class, you get John's, and you get all the materials. The second learning track is not only do you get the 7 weeks of online training and the 7 weeks with John, you also get to hire me as a personal coach. The premium track, you get 7 weeks of training with Allyson. One-on-one, 1 hour. So what's it going to cost? With the coaching, it's going to cost $1,897. 7 weeks of the master class, 7 weeks of the mastermind, and 7 private classes with me. Most people may not know that my coaching is $400 an hour. I still can't write. $400 an hour. By doing this, you're going to get the coaching at half price. That's $200 an hour. Really important if people want to do that. The how comes out in learning day after day. If you just want to do the master class is going to be amazing. 7 weeks of training, 7 weeks of John, all of the pieces that we're doing, and you'll be able to see one another. And we know that $997 for a lot of people is expensive. So we've also made a 12 pay, and the 12 pay is only $97 a month for 12 months. It is more expensive. It has more cost to it. But what is it costing you now not to be a part of this? What it's costing is what John says. It's costing you energy and hope and looking backwards rather than forward, and that ability to feel that fear and pain. Some of the things I'd like you to do if you're in HR and training, I'd like you to ask your HR department, will they sponsor you? Ask your training department, bring 5 people. Ask your manager, Watch them watch this video and see if your life changed, how much more productive. You can bring your whole team. Contact us for group discounts. We're almost done. If this isn't for you, if you go through 30 days, which is 4 of the training sessions and 4 of the masterminds, if this isn't for you, we'll give you all your money back. We believe if you just go through the 4 classes, it's going to change your life, and we want to help you. So as we close, how happy are you with your life? Are you sacrificing sleep? Are you sacrificing time with your family? Is your house overflowing with disorganization and clutter? Do you find that there's no time to get everything done? And John, we can predict the future by, if you're not doing these things, you're constantly putting off your hopes and dreams. If you're stuck in the choke point, you're just stuck. The 7-minute life exists because we want to connect people with their priorities, purpose. We want you to see your potential. We want you to re-engage with excitement, commitment, passion, determination. I want you to put a stake in the ground right now and say, yes, I don't want to live like I was living. I want to surround myself with a group of people just like me that want the same things that I can learn from. I want clarity and I want conviction in my life. We all have needs, and when the needs get painful enough, we're going to be motivated to change our behavior. I want to continually learn. I want to make a commitment. I want to be surrounded by people that keep me accountable every week. And in order to do that, you're going to have to take action. And I tell people it's not a yes or no question. Either you're going to take action today or no, you're not going to take action. I believe it's now or later. I believe everyone needs this. And either we're going to invest now or we're going to invest it later. And the question is, how big is that gap going to be until the choke point gets so painful that you're going to be ready to invest? So what we're doing, John, right before we give away the free registration, just shake your head. John, have you already pulled the free registration winner?
Not yet. I'm going to do it right. Hang on a minute.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're going to go and just
I'll do it right now because our who's here's been going up and down, and we're going to pick somebody from the call.
Okay.
So I don't want to go through a bunch of people who are registered that aren't on the call. So I'm picking.
So,
I just randomly generate it, and we're going to find out.
Don't do it. Don't reveal it yet. Don't reveal it yet. If you're not the winner, I want you to go, and I'm going to leave this slide up while we answer questions and answers. If you're not the winner, and this is something you're willing to invest at least $97, if you don't win, you're going to want to go to the 7minutelife.com/webinar. It has all of the information. It has where you can register. It has where you can register for the coaching with me, private 7 weeks coaching, where you can register for the standard class, and also where you can do it right now, whether you want to invest in the 11 a.m. class or the 7 p.m. class. But there's a catch. If you want to do this, you have to register by 1 p.m. We're going to be answering, and that's Central Standard Time. That's about 55 minutes from now. We're going to be offering that only for an hour. If you want to register, you have to register at the 7minutelife.com/webinar. John, I'm going to leave that slide up there. I'd like you to close us out and open. Oh, you have to announce the winner, don't you?
Well, yeah, but also, did you tell them the bonuses that they get if they register in the hour? Did I miss that?
No, tell them, and then we want to. So tell them the bonuses, and then we'll go forward and announce the winner.
All right. The bonuses, here's what happens in that hour that's different if you went to the other page. And I can't believe we just missed that because it's really important. When we opened up enrollment, we had a 24-hour period where there were 3 bonuses available, and we closed that down. We're reopening that just for you all right now, and those bonuses are on the registration page that is at the 7minutelife.com/webinar, but they are a live webinar that I'm going to host on material that I've not taught anywhere else before on overcoming procrastination. Now, I have taught some things on overcoming procrastination, and if you were to go through our website, you'll see some blog posts where I share some classic kind of tools for getting things that are stuck on your list out of that stuck mode. Where this is going to be different is we're going to take half the time to do those kind of strategies, but I'm going to take half of that time and I'm going to share with you all the process I use to begin working 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time on goals and projects. So this was a goal for me at the beginning of 2016. I came up with a system to proactively work ahead, which is so much more important than just not procrastinating. So we're actually not going to just tell you how to bust up things that are stuck and get them moving, but actually how do you create a discipline and a habit of working 6 to 8 weeks ahead, because honestly, procrastination is a habit, and we're going to teach you how to replace it with a habit of working ahead. So that live webinar is one of the bonuses. There is a goal setting course that Allyson created online. I believe it's 12 videos. We're going to give you free access to that class. It's normally a $99 class. You're going to get free access. That'll be immediate. The live webinar will schedule after the beginning of the year that I'll teach. That recorded class, though, is available, and you'll be able to access it very quickly and use it before class starts. And then lastly, we're going to give away 1 hour of personal coaching with Allyson, which normally would cost you $400. You get that if you register within this hour of the webinar that Allyson was talking about. So the live webinar, coaching with Allyson, and the goal setting course. And I'm telling you, the coaching is such a critical thing. What we find is people who have coaching, it accelerates their application, their implementation, and it amplifies their results. So those are huge bonuses. If you had to pay for them, it would be about $600 worth of material. So a $99 course, $99 webinar, and $400 worth of coaching. So that's the bonus. You ready for me to select this winner? Okay, we have 57 people on the call. I am generating who it's going to be. We're doing this by random number.
Hey, John, I'm on pins and needles. I feel like I'm at, what do they call that? Dancing with the Stars, where who is going to win? I just can hardly stand it. But
okay, I'm excited about who won this because it's a she, has been on numerous calls, and from comments she's made, it sounds like she really could use this in her life right now. And I cannot wait to see you in our new class, Suzanne Rowland. Suzanne, did you hear that? I want to see a woot woot or something. Did you see that? She has been so faithfully a part of these calls, and she was talking about the space she's in. And, you know, I hope this is a huge, huge godsend for you. So, woot woot, and we'll work out. Let us know whether you want to be in the AM or PM class. Thank you, Suzanne. I cannot wait to actually see you face to face. So, cool. That's really exciting.
hey, John, I have a question.
Yeah,
If people attended this class, can they come back to the 7 o'clock class
absolutely.
and try to win the second one?
You want to come in, you're going to have to be on the call. So, you know,
Okay.
I'm picking them from who's in the call live.
Okay, John, I want to open it up to questions, answers. This has been awesome, and I know people are going to have a lot of questions for you. If you didn't win and you want to have an opportunity to attend the webinar, and I would not wait until tonight. If you win tonight, we will give you your money back. You only have 1 hour to register for this class. So it's the 7minutelife.com/webinar. This is going to be life-changing. I'm going to learn from you. You're going to learn from me. And John, make sure you register. So John, open it up for question and answers.
Yeah, what do you got, guys? We've got about 20 minutes before we'll get off, a little less. Anybody have a question about this process or about the class? If you have questions about the class, you can hit us with those as well. I'm going to throw this in. There's a little delay when I ask that before I see your questions. I'm just really delighted at how many of you are finding this helpful and coming back week after week. It's cool for me when we open this up. Oh, Ann has a question, and maybe Allison, you can get the link. Ann asked about the yearly sheet. Is it on the site? I don't think it's on the tools page. Could you look real quick and see if it is? It's not?
It's not. You have to watch these webinars, and we'll be sending it out to them.
Okay, we'll send it out with the replay then. So that's not, we'll make sure you get it. Did you catch that? And we did press record this week, so there will be a replay. But we'll send that out with the replay link. Okay, other questions? I'm so excited for Suzanne, and I hope I'm saying your name right because I'm just looking at it, but I see it week after week, and I'm really delighted that you won this. Any questions? And I'll pause there and see if I clean my board up a little bit. Well, I'm really grateful for the opportunity that we had to do this today because it helped Allison and I refine these concepts a lot.
Hey, John, it's Susan, but I have a
Susan, okay, thank you for correcting that.
I have a comment that these
love you too, Susan.
John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead. I'll be quiet.
No, you don't have to be quiet for sure. I have a comment that this mastermind is going to produce the very same things that we saw today. It was John and Allison sitting down out of the noise for an hour, having the opportunity to talk to one another, which is what this mastermind class is. It's not just having somebody talk to you, it's learning together and coming up with these ideas. So this is exactly where this came from, is doing the very same thing that we're going to be doing not only in the class, but also in the Monday afternoon meeting. So John, what questions do people have?
Let's see. I'm not seeing questions. I'm just seeing I'm seeing a lot of people congratulate Susan. Samantha said, thank you very much for another wonderful webinar. I've got to get back to work, I'm afraid, but I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. Oh, next week. Next week's topic. Why don't I say a word about that while we're waiting for any more questions? Let me think. Next week, we are doing annual goal setting. So that'll be a great process for folks. That's something I've really refined over the last 5 years or so, and I've got some tips and tools that I don't think you will have seen. Pretty sure that's I'm going to double check that. I got my calendar waiting right here. Yeah, it's personal goal setting for the new year. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm pumped about that.
I have a question. One,
Sure.
Why are people coming back to these classes? I'd like them to put that in chat. Why are you coming back? And also, what topics would you want for 2017? Because we're becoming more interactive. I want to make sure that people realize that these classes are beginning points. You've got to begin to take action. You've got to, I don't want to sound, well, I do. You've got to begin to get copies of the planner. You've got to read the books. You've got to have these conversations with your teammates, with your team staff. This can't be done alone. So why are people showing up? And what can we do to help? Why are you coming? First, I'd like to know why people are coming. Group therapy.
I love it. Susan, I almost have to tell you, that's almost why I keep doing them. It is like group therapy.
We still have a lot of people on the court. I'd like people to hover over the image.
Good wisdom.
Make sure let us know what you like.
Oh, great. Mark said, these webinars are inspiring me to finally dive deeply into the planner I got a while back. And that's something I want to just say about the beauty of 7-Minute Life being a community. And I really do feel that we're a community that helps people. One we all have the greatest intentions of the world, and we go out and we buy books and we buy classes and we buy planners. And I find you've got to have somebody in your corner with you from time to time just to help you be accountable to that. Otherwise, it's all too easy to take the planner you bought, leave it in a desk drawer, go through your day a few days, and then you totally forget to start pulling it out. And next thing you know, you're living on the backs of envelopes and Post-it notes and forgotten meetings, So yeah, it's really, I hear you, Mark. I need it. I'm going to save our chat real quick while I'm thinking about it.
People are asking about our Facebook page. So there it is. Just go to the Google, to the Google. That's what my mother says. Go
to the Google, like it's an entity.
Yes. Go to the Google and type in the 7-Minute Life. And one of the things, John, I'd love to do is have conversations about this in Facebook. In order for us to continue to grow, we need you to help us. Tell your friends about the 7 o'clock class today. Send that link to them. And this stuff is life altering. I think as John and I grow into this, when I saw this last night, that what I do every day is going to predict who I am and what my life looks like at the day I die, my heart was pounding. So I don't even know what to say. I do want to say that if this is doing something, I would want you to be part of the class at this webinar. So don't take that lightly. This is going to be life-changing for me to go to the 7minutelife.com/webinar. Please continue to tell us, why do you come? Look at these things, John. Look at this.
Yeah. Well, and somebody mentioned, and those of you who've been in here a lot, like I know Jean and Mark and Susan, man, I see a lot, Nancy, Tina, Martina, I'm not sure what you go by. Oh, Marie Nelson. Marie Nelson, is that Marie Nelson I know at camp? If it is, give me a shout out. That's really cool if it is. That I just caught your name in there. But folks who are coming back week after week, I would love to hear from you. We do need repetition. I feel like I try to strike a balance between repetition so you have the reinforcement, but new content all the time for you as well. It's a tricky balance. They say we've got to hear things 7 times before we act on them. So some of these concepts, which I've been, some of these things I've been living out for 10 years, and I'm still learning how to use them now today. I hope there is a good balance between new content and reinforcement and repetition. So very well presented, valuable material, actionable ideas, helpful. Reason I keep, great, Mark. That's super. And if we're ever not doing that, I want to hear that too. Let us know what would make it better, always. And we've got about 10 minutes left, and feel free, please, if you have any, if you do have any questions for us about the content today, pop them down in there. That's what we're here for.
Hey, John, I also want to say that these classes are becoming more and more personal. I deeply believe that a lot of what we're doing is giving people space and time to think about their priorities and purpose. But, I keep going back to the fact that the pain of anxiety and stress and depression, that's all part of what we're doing. And I really do hope people are sharing these messages and including them, forwarding these webinars. We want you to engage in these classes. And I have gotten some comments that people don't have $97. And I understand. I totally get that. And that's why we're offering these free webinars. That's why we offer so much free. But there are going to be opportunities that people do want to participate in these classes. John, I see some other questions coming in.
Yeah, Heather asked one. She asked, how do we make sure the goals we choose are in alignment with God's plan/purpose for us? Susan mentioned prayer. I may be a little bit uniquely qualified to respond to that as a time management expert and pastor, but for me, I can speak to how it works for me, but I think would be true for many other people. Prayer is definitely important and is cornerstone for that. And when I say prayer, what happens for me is I put down these plans and these goals that I have in mind out there, and I'm looking for that heartfelt sense of peace around them. And I'm going to quantify that a little bit for you. If you've ever had the experience of we've all had the experience of trying to remember something and you can't remember it, like it's on the tip of your tongue, like maybe you're headed out the back door and you're missing something, and you're heading down the street 5 blocks away, you see a red light, and all of a sudden you remember, oh, I needed my red folder because I have such and such in it. And there's this ka-chunk moment where that's what it is. That's right, okay? That felt sense, I have a felt sense, and I know this is very subjective, but around things when I lift them up in prayer, I look for that felt sense of that ka-chunk of this is right and good. That's very subjective, I understand that. Versus a uncomfortable, disjointed, chaotic, stressful feeling around it. Now, that's not a hard, fast barometer, because we can also feel those things just out of our own fears when a goal is bigger or larger than we thought. I spend a lot of time in Scripture, and I make sure that what I do is in alignment with that. So I want to be sure it's in alignment with prayer and my personal connection, and it's in alignment with what I know scripturally. And then lastly, the other thing is that I always hold, when I set these goals, I call it having an open-handed agenda. In other words, I kind of hold on, I lift up those goals, I set them out here, I have them in my hand, but my hand is open for those to be taken away and replaced with something different if I'm going down the wrong path. I don't cling to them, I hold them in an open hand. I hope that makes sense and is helpful. And I know for some folks, this may be preachy for you, but I do want to respond to Heather's question and as honestly and as openly as I can, without being offensive to someone who may have a completely different value or belief structure around that. So,
John, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can you explain anchored wandering to that same question? That's a brilliant concept that you have of anchored wandering. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I can do that. Let me go back to our choke point again. I'm going to put it in terms of, I'm going to lay it on its side for this. This is not something I've talked about in here. But when we hit those points where Allyson used the term, it's evading me, where we need to recalibrate, okay? There comes a point where we're going through our day or we're going through life and we have our plan, but other things begin to collide with it and we have to make tough choices and we have to recalibrate. In other words, we have to reassess, okay? What happens for many of us is that when we hit those crunch points, it shuts us down and nothing happens. There's no recalibration. I'm going to give you a life example of a young woman who, and we can play this up at a daily level or a life level, but I knew a young woman who went on a mission trip and she came back from the mission trip and it so impacted her values that how she was spending her day no longer fit with who she was now and how she wanted to be spending her day. And she needed to recalibrate because she had a different set of values, if you will. And anchored wandering, we need a grace space. We need a time that is set aside where we can sit with those things that we're trying to bring in, that we're trying to integrate and bring together. And I call it anchored wandering. For example, with this young woman, I told her she needed some time and some space where she allowed herself to just be graceful. She didn't know whether she wanted to stay in her church or not. I said, that's okay. Wander around a little bit, test and try some things out. So this is the wandering point. You kind of test and try some things out, but you want to be anchored. So the anchored side of that was, I said, don't move your church membership. Let your pastor know what's going on, because I knew her pastor and I knew he wouldn't be wigged out by that. And get some people around you who are aware, so that you don't just wander off. A lot of people hit these life crises at 50-something and they go careening off the path. And they really need to slow down. They need to reassess, and they need some kind of meditative, contemplative time in their life to play around mentally with what's going on. You know, in indigenous cultures, people would go on a vision quest, and they would go off and literally wander the landscape, but they would come back and report to people. That was their anchor. There was a tradition around it. There was a ceremony around it, and those were anchors. And I know that's getting kind of abstract, but in the day, let's talk about in the course of the day, not so abstract. But when we hit a recalibrate point in the day, we can have where we step back from stuff and we create some space where I'm just going to recalibrate. I'm going to take 15 or 20 minutes to breathe and relook back at what I had intended and what's happened. That's kind of your wander moment, and think through how you might need to adjust. But the anchors may be for you in that on a daily basis is, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, what were the high value things? High value is an anchor point for you. That should drive some choices for you. Did it fit my purpose? What fits my values? What fits my goals? See, these all become anchor points for us, so that we don't just wander off and get lost. But we do need that wandering time to slow down, to peruse our schedule again, and regroup. We need it on a daily basis. We need it on a life basis. We need it on sometimes a weekly or monthly basis. I do it mid-year. Mid-year, I do a whole regrouping. I look at all my goals and I say, has the first 6 months kind of panned out the way I thought they would? I do that because my birthday's in June, and to me it's like a new year. I start looking at a new life year. So I kind of get 2 new years. But you should be doing it quarterly with your planner, because the front end of that planner is really an anchored wandering section, because you have the anchor of these benchmarks of figuring out your purpose and your values and your goals. Those are anchors for you, but you take time to just create a space around that, to reflect, to listen deeply, and to dream and brainstorm and play a little bit with that and try some things on. So is that helpful, Allyson? Is that the kind of thing what you were needed as some feedback?
It's absolutely, again, I think we can do entire webinars. John, we are right at 12:30. I know we have more questions. Can you wrap us up?
Yeah, I'll just repeat what I said at the beginning here of, here's the deal. This is the big epiphany that I hope you carry away. This daily choke point, if you are living this as a lifestyle, if you're living that as a lifestyle right now, it's going to define what happens for you over the course of your life. What comes out here, what you experience here, is 100 completely dependent upon how well you learn how to manage this right now. There's no getting around that. If these days are stressful, weary, and you're dreading what's coming next, then when you get here, you're going to be in a very hollow space. But if you can manage this and use the tools that we're handing you to manage this, so that you're living with hope and accomplishment and energy, you'll have those same things here at the end. So hope this has been helpful. I've enjoyed this almost like every webinar. I think this is the best webinar ever. So it's like, I don't know if they're getting better or if I just enjoy them that much. But to me, We need this. We've got to know this stuff. Many of you on these calls are in this phase right now of life, and you're kind of going, man, is it too late? It is not too late. There are huge stories out there of people making tremendous accomplishment and change in their life in this latter half. It is not too late. You still have time to change, but that change has to happen today. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I'm going to just give a 30-second wrap up. John, I want to thank you for the wisdom that you bring to this. We're getting a lot of comments that they believe it's God purposed. I do too. There's a lot that's in our hearts. We're all in this together. I'm pushing through some of the choke points, and what a blessing it is to have people surrounding us, wrapping up and going on the same journey. So John, I believe that what you're doing, what we're doing is critically important. We'll leave the chat up for just a minute, and we'll record that chat. John, thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
And thanks for everyone who joined us. Make sure that you sign up or have your friends sign up for the 7 p.m. Share the message. Put it out there on your social media. Help us grow these things. They're enormous. We're only putting things out like at 12 o'clock and at 30 minutes before. It's obviously hitting a nerve. We need your help to let other people. And don't forget that the master class is going to be very similar to this, except we're going to be learning from others. And you can register for that for 27 more minutes at 7minutelife.com/webinar.
Awesome. Merry Christmas to everybody, because we won't see you till after that. All right. I'm going to go ahead and head on out. Glad to see y'all.
Glad to see you. Thanks. Bye-bye.